Hey everybody, this is Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. Today I want to talk to you about compulsory heterosexuality, otherwise known as Comphet. The idea of compulsory heterosexuality was first brought to our attention by Adrienne Rich in her 1980 essay called Compulsory Heterosexuality and the Lesbian Experience. Compulsory heterosexuality is defined as the two parts of the word compulsory, which is expected or mandated, and heterosexuality is sexual attraction between two people of opposite sex. It can generally be defined as the fact that our society expects that heterosexuality is the norm, and non-compliance with the norm equals deviance. The problem with compulsory heterosexuality is that it's rampant across the board about every aspect of a person's life. As a society, the expectation is that they will be heterosexual. They will identify with their sex as assigned at birth, that they will be sexual creatures in general. And if you don't have a sex drive or a high sex drive, or if you don't identify with your sex as assigned to you at birth, or if you do not have sexual attraction for members of the opposite sex, if your gender identification is a little bit off the normal mark, then you're weird. That is what society tells us as a whole. Maybe some of you were lucky enough to grow up in an environment where that wasn't the case for you, and you could be whoever you wanted to be attracted or not attracted to whoever you wanted to be attracted or not attracted to. That's awesome. I would venture to say that is not the majority experience. So the problematic part of compulsory heterosexuality is what it does to people who do not identify within that very specific structure. And what do they do with that? How do they feel about themselves? How are they made to feel about themselves? How long do they go before they even identify that that's something that's happening with them? And how can we maybe, stop doing that? Because that would be great, right? Let me first give you some examples of how we as a society engage in compulsory heterosexuality on the regular. Okay, first is the super obvious one, and if you've never seen this before or never identified it, I encourage you, now that I've said this to you, to go back and look. The majority of couples, especially the majority of couples who are displaying domesticity in movies, in books, in TV shows, are all heterosexual. The normalcy of that particular life becomes the expectation of everyone else's life because that's what we see. When I think about, in my time, the number of shows that got so much flack for a literal pet between two people of the same sex, a pet. They didn't display a healthy relationship. They didn't display them trying to have children or getting married or telling their parents who they are. Any of those things that at that time would have been difficult. It was just a kiss between two people. I can remember so many times in my life that expression within the media was very much looked down on. And now all of a sudden this show is marginalized, or this show is pandering to a group of people that's not even the majority. Can you imagine? The fact is, people in this community for so long have been expected to accept things as small as they can be. You get a little bit of representation here, you get a little bit of a story here, and then you should be fine. And then we all celebrate things that are actually kind of offensive, certain ways that people are displayed in the media, certain movies or TV shows that are made that are actually offensive. But because we have nothing else, that's what we're watching, right? That's what we're reading. It is insane to me that in 2020, we have still not recognized that anybody, when they do not see themselves reflected in celebrities, in sports, in movies, in books, and in television, on magazine pages, when they don't see themselves reflected there, they understand themselves to be less. That's the message, the unspoken message we give to people. So in this video, because we're just talking about heterosexuality versus not heterosexuality, that's where I'm talking about. But this goes across the board, y'all. I don't know why we don't get it yet. Another example. This one's great. I can guarantee every person watching this has had this happen around them or have been part of this. I know I have. Picture a boy and a girl in kindergarten and they're best friends, okay? The adults around them talk about them like they're dating. Even if they don't come home and be like, "This is my boyfriend.
boyfriend. This is my girlfriend.
The adults around them are like, oh, your little boyfriend. Oh, your little girlfriend. If you have two girls that are in kindergarten and they're best friends, you don't say, oh, your little girlfriend. Oh, your little girlfriend. You don't say it. You say they're friends, and because these two are the opposite sex, they must have romantic feelings for each other at 5 years old. Come on. And I get it. I absolutely get it. Most people I see do this. I think it's all in fun, but you don't understand what your version of fun could be doing to people around you. Okay, one more example about how we give the message of compulsory heterosexuality from a very early age. I'm going to be sex specific on this. You've got a baby boy in the cart at the grocery store checkout line with the parent pushing the cart. And then behind baby boy and parent, you have an adult female. When the little boy is peeking over parent's shoulder and looking at the adult female and then getting all bashful if you wave to him, you know, and like joking around with you, someone will usually make a reference to the baby boy flirting with the grown adult female behind him. If it was a grown adult male behind baby boy and parent, it is highly unlikely anyone would allude to flirting. Why? Because it's not assumed that baby boy would be flirting with another male. Why? Because it's assumed that baby boy is heterosexual. I could probably go on for hours giving you examples of compulsory heterosexuality in our society, but now that I've given you a couple, I want to move on to why it's harmful and what we can do about it, because that's really the point here, right? For anyone watching who identifies within the LGBTQIA+ community, I want you to think for a minute about how different your experience would be right now in your life if it had never been assumed you were cisgender, or if it never had been assumed that you were straight or sexual in any way, really. If you got to tell people who you were and who you were attracted to, and it was treated the same across the board, no matter what would that have looked like for you? Would it have made a difference? Would you like yourself better now? Would you know yourself better now? Would your relationships be any healthier? Would you still have your family of origin? If you are one of the lucky people for whom life would not have changed, that's awesome. If you are, as I suspect, someone that would have changed a lot of things for, I want to first say this does not make you broken, and I want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry our society is built in a way that expected you to be someone other than who you are. You get to be who you are. I don't care who you are watching this. You're allowed to be you. It should not be easier for certain people to be them than it is for other people to be themselves. Why should it be like that? There's lots of different opinions on how our society got to be steeped in compulsory heterosexuality. But the fact is we're here. And the fact is it needs to stop. People are forced directly and indirectly in our society to accept labels and expectations and understandings of themselves that are not who they are. The amount of shame that we push on people because they do not look like what we have decided our society's norm is unacceptable. And for those who have found themselves victims of compulsory heterosexuality, it's not your fault. I would encourage you, if this has resonated with you, to do a little bit of research on your own also. Maybe check out my video about internalized homophobia and also about coming out and why we do it and why it's necessary or not necessary for each individual person. But the bottom line, folks, is that we need to stop making this expectation, and we can stop it now. You can just stop expecting everyone to be just like you. And maybe embrace the idea that a world of people unlike yourself is much richer and much more fun. If we could stop this, do you have any idea how many families wouldn't fall apart the way that they do? Do you have any idea how many people would have better views of themselves and of people around them? If people could accept from the very beginning that the other people around them are not going to be like them all the time, if we could learn to be energized by that fact and not scared by it. We could do crazy awesome things if we didn't have to spend all this energy and time unlearning what we should never have been taught in the first place. So I hope this video has brought you some awareness of compulsory heterosexuality. I hope that you understand a little bit better how that may have played a part in your life. Check out my video on internalized homophobia. That might help you to sort of unlock some of those things that maybe feel a bit locked for you. I hope you are all having a great day. I hope you're taking care of yourselves and each other. I'll talk to you soon.